Welcome back to the Mina Show, the only NFL podcast. One of the hosts pronounces it Micah Parsons. That's Lenny Pa. I'm Mina Kimes. Joining us for the first time in like 2 months. Before, he was playing cover 1. Now he's playing cover 2. Ben Solak. Tried a different joke. I just want to make you laugh. You got 2 kids now. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's the classic one that all like the football guys went for is like, oh, you were double coverage. Now it's man to man. Like, oh, no safety help anymore. Oh, okay, 2 parents, 2 kids. Math is fun. But yeah, you gotta make football references to married life. You gotta outkick your coverage. You gotta play coverages against kids. It's the only way we can talk about these things.
I think I revealed to the world that I was having a boy when Scott Van Pelt responded to my baby announcement by saying something about playing zone. I said, no, I'm playing man, because I was having a boy. Yes, it is true. Ben Solak has returned. He's back at work. He has been bursting with takes. He's been texting me some of those takes. Hilariously, you're back on a week the Eagles are on the bye, because I've been dying to talk to you about the Eagles. Obviously, we will find out.
I heard you realize that live with Dominique on the recap show. You were like, oh, I can't bring up the Eagles next week. And I was like, yeah.
So I got into it a little bit. The Eagles are so funny, too, because I do this All Philly podcast with Bo, who's your friend. And it's like, because it's every other week, it feels like we're talking about a completely different football team every time this year. Like, the vibes is just such a roller coaster. But anyways, we're going to talk about every game, as we always do. We're going to preview them. We're going to pick them. Some of them we're going to discuss at more length than others. I actually probably should have given us both sides of this, because it is a big game. But, I'm taking Thursday Night Football. I lied last week. I said Lamar Jackson would be back. It was even the title of my preview pod. But you know
news.
What?
We can't trust ESPN these days.
Not my fault. I blame the Ravens for, well, they're dealing with the repercussions of that. They really made it seem like he was going to play. But he's definitely going to play. And it is actually a big deal for a litany of reasons that Dominique and I got into, which is the Ravens are still in it, man. They're back from the dead. They're 2-5. Schedule's very easy. The Steelers have dropped a couple. And this is obviously a very winnable game. Now, versus a Dolphins team that is coming off a big win of their own. But many of these Dolphins, by the time you listen to this, Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips might be on different, they're definitely one of the teams being earmarked for trades. So I will do my best to not, base my entire analysis on the availability of those guys. But, I'm going to focus on Lamar Jackson here, because Lamar Jackson is back, and he says he's really healthy. He's excited to play. And I tried to put myself in the mindset of what it looked like before he got hurt. And there was a lot of issues on defense. Dominique and I talked about whether or not those are solved. Ravens might be an acquiring team of a pass rusher. Maybe Jalen Phillips switches at halftime and plays for the Ravens in the second half, right?
If you're a great Raven, just don't leave / no, get on the plane, because it's in Miami. Just get on the plane, head back to Baltimore.
Get on their plane. But it's actually, he is kind of relevant to my key, which is the Ravens offense. They struggled to run the ball. There were some other issues, but there were also a lot of guys who weren't available early in the season. They are now a fully armed battle station. Pretty much everyone's back. I think Ronnie Stanley, too, is going to play. So my key for this one and for Lamar, and I thought about how he looked before, he just got to stop taking sacks, because in the first few weeks of the season, he had a 33% pressure to sack rate, which was 32nd league-wide.
Those are Mac Jones numbers, baby. Or not
only
even. Those
worse.
are Justin Fields numbers.
Yeah, Cam Ward was only worse. And that's not characteristic of him. Of course, last year, he was like 4th lowest. It was 12% pressure to sack ratio. But Ben, I want to ask you about those sacks, because, again, drawing back on my memory, I don't really think it was about pass protection. To me, it felt like the run game, the lack of a run game was putting him behind schedule, the offense, and then they were like kind of hunting big plays, or guys weren't available or open. So I think you just really, in order to avoid some of those sacks, he's just got to play on time in this one. Because I think if this offense stays on schedule, they should have no trouble attacking Miami.
Yeah, and before he had the hammy, they played the Lions and they played the Chiefs. And both Spags and Kelvin Shepard, Lions DC, who's like a Spags protege, he played for him. We're doing a lot of like rush 3, drop 7, kind of drop 8. It's not really a quarterback spy so much as it is we're going to funnel the rush to this guy. I say all that to say Lamar had a lot of like 1 yard sacks and 2 yard sacks that weren't really super sacks so much as they were he scrambled into a guy and he was always going to run and whatever. So it jukes the numbers a little bit. If you look at Lamar's EPA per dropback, yards per attempt on like extended dropbacks, he's once again among the league leaders. Like he's just going to be a guy who holds onto the ball for a long time. It generally the juice is worth the squeeze. I think there's going to be some regression here that comes out of those sack numbers, and you're going to be fine. I think it's the return of the running game that's the bigger part of this, right? Where they just didn't have Patrick Ricard for the entire first 6-7 weeks of the season, and I think it is silly that the Ravens running game is so reliant on Patrick Ricard. I think that's foolish. I think that there's better ways to live. But it is the reality of the team. They really heavily rely on Ricard in the running game. He is back now. Lamar's back. You're going to be able to get under center a little bit more emphatically. Obviously, there was tight end depth considerations as well. No Isaiah Likely. I think just the running game is going to get them in better down and distances. And then if Lamar just gets past the line of scrimmage on some of those, they become big runs instead. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah, before Ricard came back last week, they had run like 2 snaps out of 21, 22 personnel. This is one of the heaviest 21, 22 personnel teams in the NFL with him, and they play action off of that. He is an important part of this offense. I agree with you. Like, it shouldn't be as important as it is. But the run game did look better, and that was even without Lamar. The other thing I would add, wouldn't mind seeing more Keaton Mitchell, man, because he had so much juice when he came in there, and I'm watching thinking, like, why can't he be a bigger part of this offense? Because he looks like he did before the injury. But the run, you're right. They should be able to run the ball in Miami. This is a very bad run. I mean, the defense is like, my defense is not good at anything. I was like, what part should they attack? And then I thought that was kind of silly. The one thing I'll be interested in seeing from Miami's standpoint on defense is if they blitz Lamar. They blitz a lot. Lamar, as you said at the beginning, most of his issues with pressure have not been against the blitz. In fact, in that Lions game, I went back and checked. He was 12 for 14 for 189 yards and 3 touchdowns against the blitz. So that is not the way.
Bodies in coverage.
Not the way to beat him. Yeah. So I think from Miami's standpoint, really quickly though, to hit the other side of the ball. So Dua's coming off of probably his best game of the season. You go up against the Ravens defense that was really awful. Dominique and I talked about how they've shifted to more of a big nickel approach on the back end, and that seems to have stabilized things a little bit. How do you think the defense matches up with Miami?
So I think that your strength as a Ravens defense, which right now is not a lot, but your strength is your second level players, their ability to play fast sideline to sideline, and their ability to tackle. Like when you have Kyle Hamilton at backer, when you have Roquan Smith playing the way that he did in that Dolphins game, even when he's been not at his best last couple of years. A lot of that's been like the between the tackle stuff, taking on blocks. Roquan's still like quite a good run and chase player. Just I would like go so far as say maybe the only good thing about the Ravens defense consistently, because there's been moments of, pass rush and coverage and whatever, has been like they're run and chase guys at the second level playing into the boundary. The entire Dolphins offense is predicated on like swings and flats and runs in the boundary, whatever. It's stylistically, I don't think it's a good matchup for the Dolphins. I also do think, the Ravens are doing the same thing they did last year, where they come out of the bye, they have repurposed Kyle Hamilton. They solved the Ardarius Washington absence by getting Alohi Gilman, which that's going to have problems with it. Gilman is not a speedy guy in the defensive backfield, but they're doing new stuff on defense that opposing offenses haven't yet seen and figured out exactly how they want to manipulate. So it feels like they're catching the Dolphins at a good time. I don't think that Dolphins performance last week, like they kind of like shocked the Falcons with jumbo sets and actually like ran the ball between the tackles. You can do that against the Falcons. I don't know if you could do that against literally any other defense.
Yeah, I think they'll have some success against Baltimore. But to your point, I think the return of Roquan is massive. He played so freaking well on against the Bears. And it was really a reminder of how important he is structurally to what they do on defense. I still think the Ravens should add pass rush. But I do think that the improvements have stabilized it enough, coupled with the return of Lamar, to where I feel comfortable picking them in this game. How about you?
You see that Mike Green sack?
I did, yes. So that's
we are
big.
Noticing. Yeah.
I still think that defensive tackle is what they need to add at defensive tackle.
Nnamdi was lost for the year with like a potentially career-ending neck injury, and because the whole Lamar thing was going on, that got swept under the rug. As big as any non-quarterback injuries happen in the league. I also take Ravens. I'm still unconvinced by the defensive adjustments, but like it's this Dolphins team. They're gonna get the Vikings, they get the Browns. Like it's gonna take a while before we know if this is real or not.
Yeah, I also think with the defense, it's like if Lamar is back, the offense is healthy. You don't have to be the top 10 defense we thought you are. Just don't be the worst defense in the NFL.
100%.
And I do think that they're capable of that at minimum. How about Nate Wiggins? Oof.
Big Nate Wiggins believer in the building right here.
What
Love
a
the kid.
pick.
Yeah,
What a
good
pick.
player.
As far as on the Miami side too, like I do think offensively that they can move the ball in Baltimore. I just think on the other side they're just too outmatched. Okay. You have Falcons Patriots. It's a fun one.
Yeah, it's been. I feel like I've been listening to the pods. I've been dialed in on my stroller walks. I feel like it's been a big year on the Mina show for the coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb meme. You've done it like 4 times, so I wanted to contribute.
Oh no! Wait, what are you gonna do in this one?
I'm doing a coughing baby versus coughing baby.
Okay.
Yes, and that is the Patriots' 30th ranked running game against the Falcons' 32nd ranked run defense. Right. Falcons walking into this game as a touchdown underdog. The Patriots have been just on fire in clear passing downs on 3rd and long. Drake May out of his mind. NGS for snaps that have a pass probability of 75% or higher. So the defense knows you're throwing it. May is first in e-paper dropback, second in success rate, second in passer rating. That's absurd. So like defenses are getting the Patriots to 3rd and long, and then May's making it right anyway. If you can't even get them there, if your Falcons are going to bring the league worst run defense into the building, and this Patriots running game.
Do you think that they're that bad?
So I do. And the game.
I feel like I see worse run defenses than Atlanta. I do.
They are like they just don't have enough size on the defensive front. Like I just don't know what to say. Like I think
Diablo,
the Bengals,
by the way, losing Diablo was massive in this.
And
regard.
also Zach Harrison, who defensive end for them. They're gonna hope to get him back for this week. No Jalen Walker as well, who Walker's undersized, but he also can like be a nuke from the second level, blow up a gap, cause some problems. Like they are too small in the defensive front. And this was the concern entering the year. And then they were like kind of sick, like, blitz packages and get off the field on 3rd down for the first 4 to 6 weeks. And it was hiding the fact underlying wise, like you can just lean on these guys for 4 quarters. They're not big enough. And so when you go and you bring the Patriots, who kind of a little bit found a running game, a little more Travion Henderson against the Browns. Like they only had a success rate of 39%, but it's the second best one they've had all season because they haven't run the ball well.
It felt better.
Yeah, exactly. If you can continue to iterate on that against the Falcons, I can't find the stops for a Falcons defense that, like you said, no Zach Harrison, no Divine Diablo. JD Bertrand was a big problem for them last week. Jesse Bates has an ankle. Billy Bowman's potentially not back. Like they're very banged up in the defense right now. So key for this game is just, can you find enough run defense stops for the Falcons, or can you find running success for the Patriots? Otherwise, this thing runs away.
So funny, because if that's coughing baby versus coughing baby, Bijan Robinson versus the Patriots run defense is hydrogen bomb versus hydrogen bomb, right? Mm-hmm. We know how good Bijan is running the football, but this Patriots run defense has been exceptional. They're much better stopping the run than the pass this year. So for Atlanta, you really have to get the passing attack going in this, because like it was such a clear investment too. Like the players that they brought in free agency, that Vrabel probably played a large role in picking for this defense have been so important. And obviously the ones that they've gotten back, Spillane, whew.
Kairos Tonga, little nose tackle action, playing great ball. Yeah.
Spillane might be like one of the best run defending linebackers in the NFL this year, though.
The cost is supposed to be in pass coverage because Spillane and Gifford, it's not great when you get those guys in zone coverage over the middle of the field. But this Falcons team, just despite the DNA, despite the Zach Robinson from the Rams, just simply incapable of getting the ball over the middle of the field of play action, just refuse to do it. And so this should be a clear Kyle Pitts matchup. Okay, they're going to do their whole spread out Bijan Robinson thing, sure, but you just know there's going to be 14 combined targets to Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez against Darnell Mooney and Drake London. And you can feel okay about 50-50ing that, but it shouldn't be that hard. You should be working middle of the field. Yeah.
It's a real issue with this Falcons offense is just how inflexible that they are, right? Like that was my thing against San Francisco. I'm on New England here. I think the defense has sort of been lost amidst the Drake May machine, incredible season that he's having. But I do think that improvement is real. I think I'm trying to think of when the first when they're going to face a really scary passing attack. I think an offense that can play action, that can attack over the middle field, that can play with tight ends could give them issues.
I think that first 2.5, first 3 quarters of that Bills game, you just saw the Bills ripping 20 yards Dalton Kincaid, 14 yards Josh Palmer. Yep. They were working middle of the field there. And then they got away with it because of things that pissed me off about the Bills that we will get to later in the show. But that's there for sure, that weak point's there.
Oh, you got the Bucs next week. That's a great game. Pats Bucs. And then you have the Jets, the Bengals, the Giants, and then you got the Bills again.
Easiest schedule rest of the way, baby.
I know,
MVP May, here it comes.
Is it easier than the Ravens though? Like, have you looked at the Ravens schedule lately?
I had the numbers up by the gambling market strength. I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the Ravens strength of schedule is 28th remaining. Patriots is 30th. Easiest is technically the Saints. Congratulations to the Saints.
Yeah. All right. You as New England as well?
Yeah, 100%.
Chargers Titans is me. Brutal. Every Titans game is not fun to talk about because I don't want to ignore the Titans. Like, I want to talk about them a little bit. I don't want to just talk like we've talked about the Chargers. I wrote, can Tennessee get anything going on the ground? Because, okay, relax.
No. That was in agreement.
Okay.
One of the biggest disappointments.
I thought you were saying no way.
No, one of the biggest disappointments for me this season has been the Titans' lack of a running game. I had in my season preview stuff, I was like, Tony Pollard might lead the league in rushing. I believed in this offensive line. I believed in the system. It's been just totally dead on arrival. Very disappointing.
So it looked a little bit better last week. I thought Tyjae Spears coming back healthy. He had the big 41-yard run. And they go up against the Titans run defense is 29th in DVOA. The Chargers are 27th. You can run on them. Whether or not they'll be able to is obviously a question, but I feel like if there's an area of the Titans offense where I'm looking at the second half of the schedule and I'm thinking this could improve down the stretch, it would be the rushing attack. Problem is, on the other side of the ball, I love the Chargers run game against this. The Chargers offense, I think, will have success, but I really loved, I've loved what Kamani Vidal has brought to the table. This is why you draft first-round running back, so they can produce like Kamani Vidal. And I think, as I said earlier, that's a real mismatch for LA against this Titans. I don't think they're going to have a lot of problem with this. But I would just love to see, I think also for Cam Ward's development down the stretch, if they can start building at least an average running game, I think that should make things easier for him.
Yeah, I thought, I have something very stupid to say. I thought Cam Ward, it was his best game of his career against the Colts. It doesn't matter. They scored 14 points. It's all of his games actually look the same. But in terms of there was no Calvin Ridley's. There was no super irritating 4 targets of miscommunication and drops and whatever. He clearly trusts Imanner. He clearly trusts DK, right? The rookies out of Stanford and Florida, respectively. Chikakonkwo had a little bit more of a day. I think that they're doing a better job now with Mike McCoy at the helm, just cutting the field in half and just saying hey, you have a spectacular arm, and so we're not going to ask you to spread and shred. Just make the high difficulty throw. If it's not super open, you just hit a tight window. Obviously, it was the Colts secondary, but this Chargers defense, man, this was a unit that was kind of primed for regression off last year, and it's hitting them in a big way. They've had some injuries. Safety's been turned over. I think they'll be better in the back half. But this is a 9.5-point line. I think it will be closer than that. Especially Chargers had a huge primetime win. They're coming off a long week. Here come the Chargers. Wouldn't be surprised if this is a weird, stinky one. Just because I think that Ward can keep pace against this defense.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
No, Jeffrey Simmons just sucks.
Yeah,
it's just their defense is totally toothless. Now they've traded away all their starting corners, right? They got Darrell Baker, Jalen Armour Davis out there has been a huge mark. It's been very tough.
Chargers here pretty easily.
Chargers win, I think.
Vidal, by the way, am I saying his name right? I say it like Gore Vidal.
Yeah. Kamani Vidal, who I had so much Omarion Hampton stock, and I was one game away because he was producing very well for being my offensive rookie of the year. Here he is, and then he gets hurt, and Vidal just walks out and immediately produces. Frick, running backs are fungible.
Second in rushing yards over expected for carry right now, but Kamani, he's huge too.
He's a dense young boy. All right, he's not tall, but he's wide, and he runs like a hammerhead shark.
They were against Minnesota. They were putting the fullback Matlock on the field and just pounding. And then, because it was funny, because they ran a lot of play action in the first half, and then they pulled out to a lead, and then they started running the ball more, and Minnesota just could not stop it, which was another. You talk about regression. That's been a regression, too. We'll talk about that one.
The Chargers are such a big team. Just Herbert, big.
Physically,
Johnson, big. They just got big dudes. And then Lad McConkey's always in the huddle. I'm like, what's up, Lad? He kills me every time I see him on the screen.
Okay. Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers for sure.
Bears Bengals is you.
This is a fun one. With that said, Joe Flacco, AC joint issue, status up in the air. Zach Taylor says he's gutting it out. So we either get limited Flacco or Jake Browning, which again, I think can be fun. Early down pass defense, the Bears are absolute stone cold worst in the league. And the Bengals one of the higher pass teams over expectation on early down. So like whoever it is, Flacco or Browning, they will have 45 pass attempts in this game. Some of them will be ugly. Some of them are going to be like, 18-yard Jamar Chase honey, like cover 2 hole shots over and over and over again. Bears defense has got to be able to get pressure on. If it's Flacco, obviously kind of immovable in the pocket. Same thing with Browning. Flacco right now among quarterbacks this year has the 4th biggest delta from his unpressured EPA per dropback to EPA per dropback. It's exactly who you'd expect at the top. It's Jared Goff. It's Matthew Stafford, right? Big, hurt back, can't move. It's Carson Wentz. These are the quarterbacks we have to be able to heat them up. But you have a Bears team that is just really struggling to get pressure right now. Shamar Turner's heading to IR. There's a chance to get Austin Booker back in this game, which might give them some pass rush juice. But you have to be able to move Flacco off of his spot in this game. Otherwise, you're going to enter, shootout territory. This is going to look a lot like that Jets-Bengals game did and that Bengals-Steelers game did, where it's going to come down to a late possession. And there's a lot to like about Caleb Williams. I think some of the dismay over him is ridiculously misplaced. But right now, end of game situations, game management, clock management stuff, that's still a big problem for this team. So you don't want to take this to a shootout world because Flacco will outproduce you in that instance.
I want to get to that in a second, the Caleb Williams side of things. But Tyler Huntley played really well against Chicago. He was barely pressured in that game. The lack of pressure that the Bears defense was getting was jarring. And to your point, that to me is right now the biggest flaw with this football team. Offensively, so this is, ostensibly a soft spot for Caleb. It's the Bengals defense. We know that's bad. I do think that the Bears' rejuvenated rushing attack, Ravens did a decent job against them, should be able to run the ball well on the Bengals defense. Caleb, so I wanted to bring that up because you wrote a column this week, the first column back, and you talked a little bit about Caleb and what you're seeing from him. And, I get asked a lot, well, is he improved? Is he a step back? And my general feeling has been this is exactly what we expected, which is entirely new offense, new players across the board. It's going to take a second, and it feels like there's a lack of patience around it. When I watch him, I think the inconsistency is the thing that jumps out. There's stretches where he looks like the number 1 overall pick, and then there's stretches where he has some sprays. And I think, to my eye, Ben, the number 1 thing that jumps out to me is just it still feels like the timing of the offense is not quite, he's not quite mastered it, especially on the quick stuff. And I looked this up. He's 32nd in on-target rate on quick passes. And they have a lot of screens. So it's not like he's pushing the ball downfield a lot on those, on the quick passes in particular. Mm-hmm. But when I watch, it just feels like, I don't know if it's, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know if it's a footwork thing, perhaps. But it seems like his timing is still a little bit off.
Yeah, when we talk footwork things, there's usually one of 2 categories. It's your feet are consistently bad. You put your foot in a spot where you're stepping on your throwing hallway and you're limiting your rotation. And then there's the second bucket, which is you're just not calm. So your feet just do things. And Caleb's in the second bucket. Caleb is unnecessarily and oftentimes extremely frenetic. And it is not necessarily the result of pressure, though the fact that his sack rate went from last year 10% to this year 5% indicates to me that some of it is pressure. He's very clearly got banged into his head. Stop taking sacks, don't take sacks, don't take sacks. But some of it is also he just gets excited. The glance route to DJ Moore against the Vikings in week 2 lives in my mind, where it's 4th down, Moore's wide open, and Caleb from the jump just knows it's wide open. He's just so stoked that he throws it facing the line of scrimmage. It's dude, just rhythm it. Just rhythm it. There's a miss to Olamide Zaccheaus on a little curl route, again, quick game, against the Commanders, where, Zaccheaus is going to sit down on that route just as the zone defenders part. If you hit him right between the numbers and he moves upfield, it's going to be a nice 8-yard gain on first down. And Caleb's just so excited to time it perfectly and to hit it right as that Red Sea opens that he misses them. And it says, brother, you don't win games in one play. You have to learn how to breathe. Now, I think some of that is because of the expectations that he came into the league with and some of the difficulties in year 1. Been a lot of stories written about him. I also don't think Ben Johnson, whom I love, is the sort of guy who decompresses and de-escalates his players. Ben is an intense dude who will let you know when you messed up. So I'm not sure what the solution is, but I'm extremely confident that a lot of Caleb's missed throws are throws that he is evidently physically capable of making. Yeah. And so it becomes a matter of the rhythm of the game, the calmness of the game, the belief that you're not going to die if you make one mistake, the belief that you're not going to score 10 points if you make one great throw. It's going to allow him to normalize. And I think that we'll get there with him. He just has to mature, grow up, and get given that runway a little bit.
It reminds me a little bit of a quarterback who we're going to talk about later. Can you
Jordan
guess
Love?
which? Not Jordan Love.
Okay, the comp I made was Josh Allen.
Okay, I was going to say he reminds me of Kyler Murray sometimes.
So I think like there's
Which
the
is
Kyler and like
little
Trevor.
less.
Yeah, there's the Kyler Trevor spectrum of like you are clearly
Yeah.
talented, but you are not consistent. And then to me, there's like the Jordan Love, Josh Allen, where it's like, okay, you once were this, and then you learned how to smooth things out. And it's okay, where's Caleb going to land in that spectrum? That's the big question for the next 16 games.
I don't know. Jordan, it wasn't like sprays. It
Yeah,
was
I mean, like that first half of Jordan starting, I remember, right? I wrote for the Ringer.
one game, one half. But I'm talking about like early his first year in the NFL. It wasn't sprays. It was like
No.
bad decisions at times.
Yeah. But like I remember
it didn't feel the same.
first
to me.
half of 23, he was like missing on glances and on these short posts and everything with Christian Watson because like their landmarks were just bad. Like they just had like it was like the communication, the chemistry of it all. Because I remember writing a piece where I was like, Packers fans, like I promise, like he can make this throw. It's just that he and his receivers don't agree yet, and that's the sort of thing that happens slowly and then all at once, right?
Right.
The light bulb just comes on one week.
Yeah, I just never felt like accuracy was the thing with him.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna take the Bears.
I think the Bears win this game. I think the fact that the Bengals have to play defense in this game makes it very hard for them to win it, which will be the case for every Sunday from now for the rest of time. But there's some shootout worlds where this gets really
Yeah.
stupid.
Really
52 and a half total on this one.
Got to get a pass rush going. Okay, Colts Steelers, big game. You're on the Colts side of it. I'm on the Steelers side of it. I'll go first. I just wrote, can you shorten the game? Just keep the Colts offense off the field. Grind them to dust when they're on defense. Paper cut, run the football. Be your annoying self. So, funny thing about the Steelers, the Steelers offense, I feel like this has gotten, because we talk a lot about like the quick passes and how they're, obviously that's what Rodgers prefers to do at this point in his career, and they started to play action off of it, and he had some success with that, right, against Green Bay as well. They've become a really good running team, and I feel like this isn't talked about that much, but they're fifth in rushing success rate right now. They've really figured out something with, I talk about the jumbo personnel groupings. I think the offensive line is blocking better. All of this, like they've gotten skill players who are blocking better. And then Gainwell and Warren are both really efficient. In fact, I would argue against Green Bay, they probably should have bred it more than they did. And as the game went on,
Rodgers was never going to let that be a running game. Not a shot. Brother was going to can every call at the line.
So the Colts defense is basically average in everything, right?
Yeah, it was so annoying looking. I'm trying to find something.
No, there's no
19th,
like obvious
14th, 17th.
Yeah. One thing that they're 26 in success rate against short passes, so that's to go back to the paper cut thing. They're also one thing that they're 31st in DVOA versus tight ends. So Pat Fryermuth, just kidding. He doesn't exist in Aaron Rodgers' eyes. Darnell Washington, you're getting those targets, but no, I'm just I'm joking.
Or Connor Hayward. We got 4 of them.
No, but I just think, like, I absolutely think Pittsburgh can move the ball on them on offense. I think that they match up reasonably well with them. Lou Anarumo is going to throw all of his weird stuff at Rodgers. I think for Aaron, it's just a matter of not, panicking when there's an unblocked, or probably not unblocked, but when they send pressure. But for the most part, I do think they can run the ball on them. I think the short passing will work. And I think they can play action them. And that's my key, because I don't want to talk about the other side of the ball if I'm a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
It's not good on the other side of the ball.
We talk about the Colts being average and everything. The one thing that I always look for with the Lou Anarumo defense is opposing quarterback time to throw. Because when he was at his peak with the Bengals, the thing that he was doing so well is he was forcing Lamar and Josh Allen, Rodgers with the Packers, Mahomes. He was forcing these guys to hold onto the ball longer than typical. That's the product of all those coverage rotations and all that zone coverage, is we're going to make you think for a little bit. So right now, quarterbacks facing the Colts, 5th highest time to throw, 2.9 seconds, right? And this is like, some of it is because the pass rush was not great at first to start the season. They're 2nd in pressure rate right now when teams only bring 4, right? Now, they never blitz, and so they don't get the additional ones, but they are good at like pushing the pocket, collapsing space. They did lose both Samson Ebukam and Tyquan Lewis, though, last week. So we have to see health-wise how deep that pass rush becomes. So you can get Rodgers to hold on to the football. In absolutely hilarious fashion, the Steelers are 4-3. The 4 fastest time to throw games are the games they won. The 3 slowest time to throw games are the games they lost. Some of that is chicken and egg, right? You're losing, you have to hold the ball longer. But in general, Rodgers, when holding the ball for more than 2.5 seconds this year, he's 28th out of 33 quarterbacks in success rate, 29th in explosive pass rate, right? Third worst in terms of getting throws more than 10 yards down the field. So if you can make him hold the football, I know there have been moments, the big Roman Wilson throw against the Green Bay Packers, like there was the awesome touchdown a couple weeks ago. I think it was against the Vikings. I can't recall, but he was moving to his right, threw back across to his left.
The Vikings,
so, yeah. There have been moments of, there he is, prime Rodgers. Look at him shine forth. But in general, snap to snap, if you can get him to hold on to the football, you can be advantageous. So to me, this is a game to get extremely funky in the defensive front and in the defensive backfield, especially if you're thin on pass rushers. Be willing to take some risks and force Rodgers to pat that thing. You're going to suffer for run defense, but yeah, they got to, carry the ball 12, 13 times down the field on you. Your offense is going to be scored in 4 plays, right? And so as long as you get 1 or 2 stops, you can space this thing out.
Should we even talk about the other side of the ball? I mean, the Colts offense is a machine, and
disgusting.
The Steelers defense. I'm trying to come. Now you got me all sensitive about the hydrogen bomb smoking baby. So I got to think of something else.
Mina discovered this meme and just dialed in on it.
I mean, I need a new meme for when it's too, something. There's a great imbalance.
The Steelers defense right now is the Cheeto in the door lock. It's just like, man, there is no resistance. And you go and you look at underlying numbers. They're going to play a bunch of single high. They're going to play man and cover 3. Like, okay, the Colts are a little bit more hot and cold against those numbers and against zone, but in the sense of like against zone, they've been the best offense ever, and against man, occasionally they have an incompletion. Like that's really what you're getting there in terms of the noise.
Occasionally they have an incompletion.
Yeah, I mean, like it's because when you throw the ball to Alec Pierce 45 yards down the field against all man coverage, sometimes you don't connect. They have too many weapons.
Can I interest you in a Kyle Duggar, because the Steelers traded for Duggar, one of 2 Patriots-related trades. It was like a 6th or a 7th, something. So for people who haven't been paying attention, let me catch you up to date. Kyle Duggar, at one point, looked like one of the most exciting, young, versatile safeties in the NFL. He was like a unit, like, used in a bunch of different ways. And then he slowly fell out of favor in New England. And this predates Mike Vrabel. This goes back to last season as well, to the point where he's been a rumored trade candidate for them for some time now. So here he is now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have a lot of problems on defense. Deshaun Elliott got hurt in the last game. That was pretty bad. But I wonder, I haven't thought this through exactly how they might utilize him, Ben. I wonder, though, if they almost want to use him as a de facto linebacker, because that's been such a weakness for them.
So bad the Steelers linebackers have been. The most difficult part of watching Steelers defensive film is figuring out who messed up, because so many instances, and there's also the defensive line with some of the run defense stuff. There are just multiple guys who are guessing, making up plays, wrong, miscommunicating, and it's been rough. The Deshaun Elliott injury, he's on IR now, is a massive one as well, because
he was like their best player.
Been like the eraser for all of this nonsense between the tackles and run defense. Elliott is very physical, has been like, at least solving some problems. I don't know if it'll be Duggar right away. They obviously have Jabril Peppers as well, another Patriots cast-off who can go play in the box for them. But we're starting to really lose for team speed if we're putting Jabril Peppers in this version of Kyle Duggar on the field. And we were already in a really bad spot for team speed when we had Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay playing corner for us. The Steelers linebackers and then safeties sans Deshaun Elliott against the sort of eye candy that the Colts are doing right now on offense is like,
it's bad.
It's like I won't want to watch it. It'll make me so upset that this is NFL football levels of bad. There's worlds where this gets like if you think the last couple weeks have been embarrassing for Tomlin and Terrell Austin and the Steelers defense, there's worlds where this gets like dire.
But there's also a world in which the Steelers offense actually keeps them on the field. Off the field. I truly believe that, to go back to my original point, like just shorten the game. Hopefully you can get a turnover. Some weird shit happens on the other side of the ball. But I don't think this is not a like there are certain defenses that I look at them, I'm like, Steelers offense can't, like Seattle, right? Houston, right. That's not the case here. They can move the ball on them. I'm still taking the Colts because the other side, the imbalance is so great. But I don't think it's impossible that Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers running cat can make this somewhat close.
I strongly agree. No, remember, still no Charvarius Ward, and then Jalen Jones practiced last week but did not go, and sounds like currently will practice again this week, and we'll see. So the Colts, okay, cool, coverage rotations, make him hold the ball. They do not have a guy who can line up opposite DK Metcalf, push him, and then run next to him for 2.5 seconds. They don't have even that dude, let alone if they want to shade a safety there. And so, like, there's a space where, a lot of 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6s, but the Steelers are like 10 for 14 on 3rd down because you just do not have coverage bodies to deal with just the one receiver that the Steelers have. So yes, I'm also Colts, but yeah, they're much like
I'm
Bears,
sure the
Bengals.
line is like something massive. It's in Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
Colts by 5.
3.5.
3.5. Okay,
this is
respectful.
This is a classic. Books love Mike Tomlin spot, so they want you to take the Colts. Oh, that line seems a little bit short because it's Tomlin on a small underdog. Tomlin at home. The problem is like that was also last week. Tomlin was a small underdog at home against the Packers, and they didn't cover in that one. I think that like people don't realize this Tomlin defense is not bouncing back. I think this defense is what it is.
Can I say something that might be perceived as disrespectful?
Heck yeah.
Okay, so Tomlin's got all the wins over the last, well, obviously career, but like just thinking about the post-Ben Roethlisberger era, how long has Chris Boswell been a Pittsburgh Steeler? Hold on, I'll pull this up. I was thinking about this watching him.
This is a great take.
Okay, 2015. Has anyone considered that Chris Boswell might be the reason why they win all these damn games? I'm watching him on in the night game against Packers, and I'm thinking, I never expect this dude to miss. It's like watching Kevin Durant take a mid-range. Yep. He could be anywhere on the field. It's funny because, like, I know, Brandon Aubrey is obviously like the bomber, and we've had a few of those. But Chris Boswell, to me, is like the most automatic thing in sports right now, in the NFL.
It's a Cam Hayward and a Chris Boswell stat. Hayward's been there for 15 years. Boswell's been there for his 11th year now. That's who the real magic is. Mike Tomlin is a Chris Boswell merchant.
I'm just saying, some nerd, go do the war for Chris Boswell and subtract it from the record and see what it looks like.
All I know is, like, I grew up in Pennsylvania, tons of Steelers fans. My pop's a Steelers fan, my sister's a Steelers fan. Anytime they're, in the group chats complaining about the Steelers, like, well, legitimately, they're like, well, at least, like, we could trust Chris Boswell. Like, remember when they beat the Falcons week 1 last year, 18-15, 6 Boswell field goals? They were like, yeah, this is our whole offense. This is the plan. It's just run it.
Well, for a second against the Packers, you were like, damn, they are going to win with field goals, aren't they? And then the Packers were like, oh, right, we're good.
Right, 7 is more than 3.
We're good.
7 is more than 3. Let's do those, yeah.
Niners Giants is just me. For this, I wrote San Francisco, run the ball. So the Giants have the worst run defense in football in DVOA. They have allowed 26 runs, exceeding over 10 rush yards over expected, which is the most of any team. So the Niners running the ball, they have not run the ball well for much of the year, but with Kittle back, they ran the ball really well. Last time we saw them, it was against Atlanta, right? In the night game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 49ers, it was Atlanta and then the Texans.
Okay. Oh, yes, then the Texans, right. In that game, right. So they do a lot of different things now in the run game. They really mixed it up week to week. I was looking at the Giants. FTN Fantasy does like run concepts, and I was looking at their run concepts to see like what the Giants have been worst against. And I was like, ooh, gap runs, because the Niners have been running more gap stuff. 6.8 yards per carry. That's bad. And then I was like, let me just switch the toggle to outside zone. 6.9 yards per carry. I was like, okay, it doesn't really matter. Just run the ball. Like, they're just... this Giants run defense, it's interesting how bad it is, by the way, because it feels like it shouldn't be as bad as it's been, and it's been absolutely awful.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that pound for pound, Brian Burns and Abdul Carter are impressive run defenders for their size. In the grand scheme of NFL edge rushers and how well they defend the run, you're probably still giving something because you are so undersized, right? Then your interior penetration guys, like, your Raheem Nunez-Roches, your Darius Alexanders, like, these are guys who they're not really going to get tackles behind the line of scrimmage because they're just going and creating chaos. And then Dexter Lawrence is very clearly still recovering from his late season injury last year. Like, he just is not the same juice that we're used to him seeing. And so you're not as punchy in run defenses usually, where second levels are really rough, right? Darius Muasau opposite Bobby Okereke there at linebacker has been a big problem for them. The Giants are like it's so sad that Scadaboo is hurt because the Giants have been so fun to watch with Darton with Scadaboo, and I really think that the lack of Scadaboo, like Tyron Tracy is a good player, but the lack of yards after contact is going to accumulate. But the Giants need to be like, blitzed, get man coverage, pressure. They need to get like some weird outside of structure opportunity to be anything in the passing game right now. And you just know Robert Saleh is going to sit back there with 7 in coverage. They're going to give up some throws over the middle of the field. Like Theo Johnson's going to get them a couple of times. But in general, the Giants need to be an underneath passing team against zone coverage. And the 49ers just hit very well. They're very physical. Dart's not going to kill you on those zone plays, like with quick decisions and explosive throws down the fild. So it's a good matchup for the Niners, even without Fred.
The other Patriots player who was traded was Keon White. Again, another one where, like, if you go back a couple of years, people would be shocked. But he had also fallen out of favor in New England. Does this do anything for you for the pass rush in your mind? Like, is this enough, or do you think that they'll need to acquire pieces? Because you alluded to the Texans game. That's the least amount of pressure C.J. Stroud has faced all season. We'll talk about him in a second, but turns out he's still a good quarterback when he's not being pressured. Mm-hmm. And boy, they could not get any pressure in that game.
Yeah, dead last in team pressure right before they made the Keon White trade. This is a great example of like how most midseason trade deadline acquisitions go, where it's like, I simultaneously believe this was a good move for the 49ers that they should have made, and I also don't think it will materially change the destiny of the team this season.
I know.
They got a highly disruptive player with inside-out potential, which is exactly what Robert Saleh loves, like undersized penetration defensive tackle, with multiple years left on a rookie deal for a 6th for maybe 7th swap. That is good business. Is Keon White capable of playing the caliber of football that will save the 49ers defense without Nick Bosa, without Fred Warner? No. Like, it's going to give them a couple more third down stops, and that might accumulate into one win instead of one loss that changes their playoff seeding, so on and so forth. But 49ers defense is still largely what we expect it to be.
I'm going to take the 49ers.
Yeah. I think, and like, it's been huge for favorites the last couple weeks in the NFL. And right now you and I are mostly taking all favorites. So like, I want to take an underdog Giants team at home that has been plucky, but I really think the Scadaboo absence is a very big deal. So I lean 49ers.
I'm trying to decide if we're going to take any underdogs.
I have a couple coming.
Oh, I see one. Oh my God. They're underdog? Do you know who I'm shocked to see an underdog is? Can you guess?
The Bills?
No. That's not
Broncos?
Broncos. I would not have thought that.
So that line opened Texans underdog and has flipped in the 2 days it's been open.
Whew. All right. Before we get to that game, let's do one more. This is yours. Panthers, Packers. We alluded to the Packers earlier. What's your key in this game?
You gotta run the football and shorten this game, because if the Packers are always going to insist on not figuring out that they're good until halfway through the third quarter, then let's get as quickly to halfway through the third quarter as possible. Let's make this game fast. Panthers, man, really, really tough injury run out so far on offense. And like, as a guy who's been a Bryce Young disbeliever and like whatever, you still have to acknowledge right tackle Taylor Moton goes down with a knee halfway through the previous game against the Bills. Announced out right away, not expected to go. Brady Christensen, Achilles, I think it was, he got carted off. Center Cade Mays leaves with an ankle. The line at the end of the Bills game was center, right guard, right tackle were all new players. They've had 6 different starting offensive line combinations in 8 games. They're probably going to have 7 this upcoming week, depending on who comes back and who doesn't. That's on top of Derek Brown got hurt in that game. Trevin Wallace, their starting linebacker, plays 100% of the snaps. He got hurt in that game. Pat Jones been on IR. Like, this team is big banged up. There's one thing that works for them. Well, there's 2. J.C. Horn's one. The other thing is Rico Dowdle getting under center and just driving the football downhill, right? Packers defense right now, 4th in success rate against dropbacks, but 23rd in success rate against the designed run, right? They are giving up like a high downside conversion rate. This is very similar to how the team was last year.
Some of that is by design, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's very similar to how this team was last year. They need like takeaways, or they need those third and medium stops to get off the field. So if you're Carolina, I mean, you are trying to and never, ever see a third down longer than 5 yards. And that way you can keep this clock running. You can be physical with this defensive front, which is thin at defensive tackle. And you're going to try to stay out of those key third and longs for the Packers. If you do that, this thing stays one score, and then you just wait for the Packers to be idiots, which like right now is like 6-5 and pick 'em, that the Packers have like bad late game execution. Like that Cardinals game that they very well could have lost, the Browns game they actually lost. If you take the Packers to a close fourth quarter right now, like Matt LaFleur will turtle on you sometimes. Jordan Love will make that key mistake, that sacked interception at sometimes. You got to get him there.
Great game for Matt LaFleur to dial up the aggression earlier. This Panthers run defense is improved. I still think that this Packers rushing attack has a lot of flaws. in the passing game, they should be able to hunt. There's so many matchups. I mean, the Panthers cannot defend tight ends. There's no reason why Tucker Kraft shouldn't get a zillion targets early in this one. Also, he's on my fantasy team, is single-handedly carrying me to victory. He's literally holding my team up by
you were
the
victory
grace of
lapping.
God.
While you were victory lapping, Tucker Kraft giving you the win. I was losing to a Tucker Kraft in a different league. And I was just
my God.
spitting mad at my seat. I was so pissed.
Oh, my big, beautiful boy. Packers.
Yep, 100%
right.
Packers.
All right, let's talk Broncos and Texans after, because that one, I actually was like, let me have this conversation first before I make a pick. All right, we're back. Broncos, Texans. Texans are favored. This is in Houston. So that, and it's under 3. So you are on the Broncos in this one. I'm on the Texans. This is a pretty obvious one. Is there any way you can buy time for CJ Stroud to attack the corners? Because the corners can be had now. Pat Surtain's not playing. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound, that's bad. Obviously, I feel sad. I wish he was playing. He's a great player. But there are, like, ostensibly, if you eliminate the line of scrimmage as a factor, the Texans should be able to attack Denver through the air in this. You saw it last week when, CJ Stroud actually had time. Oh, wow. It turns out he's an accurate quarterback who can throw downfield. Killed them with those in-breakers all day long, right, San Francisco? And without Surtain, you're looking at, I think Riley Moss is a lot better than as advertised because of he has to play opposite Surtain.
Yep.
But Surtain goes out of the game, and the Cowboys really go after Abrams Drain.
Chris Abrams Drain. Yeah. Kid out of Mizzou.
Really liked from the Texans offense last week, seeing that they're finally letting the youth movement take over with Higgins and Knoll. Oh, wow.
No.
And it was like Higgins on the slants and Knoll on like a crosser post.
Right. Which was also how they were at Iowa State. It's not like you had to figure this out either, right? They would use Higgins in the underneath 7. They would use Knoll down the field. It was very obvious the whole time.
Of course, the rub here is what I said at the very beginning, which is how do you buy time for CJ Stroud? I think Vance Joseph probably doesn't blitz him that much. You're probably leaning on your 4-man rush. He'll throw in some. Vance has been very unpredictable with his blitz patterns this year, and I think to great effect, obviously. So I do think he'll throw in some pressures. He'll play a lot of games and things like that, but it'll be simulated pressures. But for the most part, I think this is a game where he can probably dial down the blitz a little bit, especially without Surtain back there. So I think for Nick Haley and the Texans, it's just like, you got to find a way. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. The Broncos defense is top 5 against all the things you do to like buy time, play action, rollouts, quick game. I just kept looking up stuff being like, there's got to be something they're not top 5 against. Right. Sadly, there's not.
The old-fashioned way is running the football, but if you do that in Houston, I mean, like, right. It's
notice I didn't even mention that.
Yeah. If you were Vance, would you want, and like, you don't know if Nico Collins is going to play because the concussions, that conflates everything, but would you want to dial down the man coverage? Or would you look at a team that, yes, Higgins and Knoll played well, but is playing at wide receiver, Xavier Hutchinson and Jared Wayne and 2 rookies and Higgins and Knoll, and say to yourself, you know what? We still think we can play man coverage on these guys. Would you try to go more zone? Because I'll give you some background. CJ Stroud has over his career has been more dangerous against zone because we brought up the in-breakers and the processing. This year, e-paper dropback, man zone, roughly equal. Success rate, roughly equal. Explosive pass rate, 8.7% against man, 16.4% against zone, right? And the Texans need explosives to score, non-negotiable, because the offensive line issues, they can't run the football, like they have to score in chunks. And so zone is the only way they get explosives on you. Also last year, Pat Surtain missed week 7 with a concussion. I was so pleased when I found this. He was week 7 with a concussion. Here's the Broncos man coverage rates last season. Week 1, 40%, then 46, 45, 45, 43, 47, 19%.
Yeah.
The week and that they played the Saints that week, which is a team that kind of forced you to play zone anyway. But the subsequent weeks are 24% and 17% as Surtain worked back into the lineup. So to me, I'm inclined to go more zone coverage, especially if Nico Collins can play and rush 4. I just worry that Stroud's going to, like, Alex Singleton right now and Dre Greenlaw in coverage for the middle of the field and zone. Like, that is scary to me.
Yeah, although Alex Singleton played out of his mind this week. I had to highlight him because I was like, listen, I'm so hard on him and Sternad usually.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're the weakness. But I thought they were both excellent in this last game. So shout against the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I played more zone. They played a lot of zone against Philadelphia this year. It's like there's Joseph some willingness to change up his tendencies. This is just all about pressure for him and like finding ways to befuddle the Texans' offensive line, which shouldn't be hard. They're gonna win. They're gonna win quickly. Even with the Surtain injury, I still think they have the advantage on that side of the ball.
I think that you end up being like, the Texans played more jumbo last week than they'd ever played in like their entire franchise history, 33%, right? Ton of 6 offensive linemen. I think that, right, you be a 7-8 man protect team. And okay, if you do that and they're in rush 4, drop 7, then now, you have like 3 guys in route distribution against 7 dudes in coverage. That is scary. But again, over the middle of the field, if I can get Nico against those backers, I know Talanoa Hufanga's been great, but like Hufanga is a risk taker who is not as sound in coverage as he could be. I still feel like maybe I can go ahead and get some explosives. The other thing is like the one thing that has been good about the Texans passing game over the course of this year is with throws behind the line of scrimmage, i.e. throws to Woody Marks, right? You have to be willing to get a lot of run after the catch. And if the Broncos are giving you man blitz, one of the things that kills them, you talk about like, big Saquon Barkley touchdown on the side and whatever, is getting the back end of the backfield fast and attacking that matchup. So to me, it's Woody and Nico if he goes, and it depends on what you give me as a defensive coordinator. But I'm going to be keeping 6 and 7 in a lot because you have to have additional bodies, even if they're only rushing 4, if you can't trust your tackles.
Denver still, if not dead last, bottom 3 in DVOM passes versus passes to running backs continues to be an issue for them. Okay, is your thoughts on the other side of the ball? Do you have thoughts about the Broncos offense? Or
my key for the Broncos was find the Surtain solution, right? I was talking about, do we blitz or do we not blitz? Do we drop guys in zone, so on and so forth. On the other side of the ball, my big note is that this season, Nick's has been remarkably better against man coverage than he's been against zone coverage. 51% success rate versus 41%. 41% first down and touchdown rate down to 26%. An enormous drop off. Texans are obviously an extremely zone heavy team. They're going to play a ton of quarters, so it ends up like man, Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley Jr. But again, we have eyes on the quarterback. So all the rollout, sprint out stuff, not going to be as successful. The Bo Nix scramble stuff, all the throws behind line of scrimmage. I mean, the Texans are such a fast team and they're so good at tackling.
Yeah.
Have to on Broncos offensive side of the ball, run the football. J.K. Dobbins has been tremendous, I think, this season. It looks like he's back to form. This offensive line has dealt with more injury than the past seasons, but still a lot of movement in the running game, not just that Dallas game, but in games previously. And the Texans, who are a quality run defense and they have good talent, they don't pitch you any changeups. They're going to put 4 down in the front. They're going to play 1 gap. And so this is your crunch and your wham. This is your pin pull. This is some of those power concepts that we know Sean Payton likes to get to. To me, I like the Broncos to win this game over Houston because of the ability to pressure Stroud and then because of the ability to control this game at the pace of J.K. Dobbins. To me, it's like a 20 carry, 100-yard touchdown day for Dobbins.
The Broncos' run game is really fun to watch. I know like the story of last week was Bo Nix because he's been like okay in spurts and he had a good fourth quarter, but that was like his first like, oh wow, they take out the governor. He's like throwing downfield. This offense looks the best it's looked all season, and certainly true. But I also just like went back and watched all of the runs, and like there was a lot of explosive runs against Dallas, and it's Dallas. I get it, but it's so well designed. It's so creative. They do so many different things, and all the skill players block their butts off.
No blocking off Pat Bryant, baby. Marvin
Pat Bryant. But on the big crack toss run, you got Bryant pinning, Mims blocking, and then all the offensive linemen are moving. Every single explosive run, it feels like Pat Bryant is in on. I've noticed, but all of the Sutton's blocking. Yeah. They're really good. I mean, it's a really good run game, and it's kind of like what we had hoped for this offense, right? Last year, the feeling was like, well, they have this unbelievable offensive line. Why can't they run the football better? And right now they're a top 5-7 rushing attack in football, so that gives them a foundation, especially against a defense like Texans, to your point.
Because the thing is, they have to call it, right? They did this against the Jets. It was driving me nuts, where every single run was packaged with a bubble over here, packaged with a smoke screen, a little side thing going on. And like, you have good wide receivers who block well in structure, get them involved, but then also like, okay, it feels like, right, that's good for Bo. Like we solve, we get answers and whatever, but your receivers aren't that, you don't have Deebo Samuel out there. It's like Troy Franklin. It's not really that worth it. Call a run, right? You under center, call a run. There's no there's no package. We are going. And that's when this offensive line can really tee off. And this offensive line is the strongest group of that offense. You have to maximize them.
Also, the Texans have always struggled, and some of this is structural versus quarterback runs. So I would make Bo Nix running a big part of my game plan as well. I'm on Denver in this one. I just can't get over the line of scrimmage. I can't do it. I can't do it for this Texans offense against this pass rush.
Yeah, sharp money has really liked the Texans all year, and that's why you got this move early in the week. I absolutely think it's a Broncos spot. The Texans have had 3 good offensive games, and they have all been against bottom 10 pressure rate teams in football. Broncos are stone cold first in pressure. No matter how you manipulate the numbers, blitz, 4-man rush, what down, they are always first in every single filter. It's going to be a long day for CJ.
Oy, oy, oy. All right, moving on. I give myself Vikings Lions, the JJ McCarthy return game. So that's what I'll focus on here. It's pretty simple with JJ. Can they speed him up? Because the thing I went back to we talked about him a little bit yesterday at NFL Live and watched some of his reps against Atlanta, which was his last game where he really struggled. And he just, and I don't mean that, sorry, when I say speed him up, I'm not talking about Detroit. I'm talking about Minnesota speeding him up. Because it just felt like he did not have a good grasp of NFL timing. And some of that was his own time to throw. Some of that was pass rushers and his athleticism versus them. And a lot of it was NFL windows. He was just waiting too long and the windows were closing too fast for him. He's got to play faster. Some challenges here. Vikings offensive line has been really bad. And this is an offensive line injury situation to monitor with Darrisaw and O'Neal. The Detroit pass rush has been very good. They also got back Alim McNeil, who I think is going to have success in this one, barreling up the middle, which is going to cause problems for JJ McCarthy. And Minnesota can't really run the ball. So what we had thought would be like this unbelievably quarterback-friendly situation to walk into, aside from the receivers, has not been exactly that. But O'Connell, it's a tough challenge, but he and McCarthy have to find a way for him to play faster and take fewer sacks. And unfortunately, this is a tough start for him against this defense.
This is just a nightmare return game. It's the Lions at home. Lee McNeil is back. Hutchinson is playing great. Al-Qadim Muhammad is playing great. Both Kirby and Brian Branch are returning. If there was a assistant coach of the year award, Kelvin Shepherd would be at the top of it.
We love him.
Kelvin, what?
I was told I talk about him too much on the podcast, so I've been trying to dial it.
Okay, I will.
No, you can talk about it.
I haven't been here for 8 weeks. Nobody's told me jack. Kelvin Shepherd, all right, walks around the most jacked ex-linebacker for 10 years ago. When he talks, all he talks about is like the most like, knucklehead, coach speak, physicality, whatever. And then he walks out there with Spag stuff. I firmly believe he's the next Steve Spagnuolo. That's a crazy thing to say. That's like absurd. He needs like 30 years in the league to be that. But in terms of how well they get to their calls at certain moments, when they're getting their timely double teams, how they get to their rotations, the game plan against Lamar, dude, we haven't seen a young coach walk out with a good Lamar game plan since Flores, man. Like that, I was so fired up watching that Lions game. I think that he's going to have JJ's head spinning, especially, again, on the road in Detroit. Ford Field is a loud, loud place. If you think they don't want to ruin JJ McCarthy, right? He's a Michigan guy. Right now he's in Minnesota. Like, that's going to be an important game for that field. Yeah, this is a terrible spot to return to, especially if there's no Darrisaw. Then on the other side of the ball, like, Lions are second in run rate. Vikings run defense, absolutely terrible. Like, Jared Goff has played 4 games against Brian Flores with the Vikings. All of them, he has scored at least 30. They've scored at least 30 points as an offense. It's because they control the game on the ground. Like, this is
and the Vikings run defense.
Deletion.
The Vikings run defense has been really bad. So I think, you're falling behind. Suddenly you're in obvious passing situations. The Lions defense, to me, like, I had them as the 6th best defense in the NFL, and my top 10 defenses pod. And I got some pushback. And then week 1, I felt really dumb. And now I'm feeling great because I really, they have lived up to, and that's even with some injuries, right? On the back end, I think they've been so impressive. Yeah, I don't love this matchup at all for JJ. I'm taking Detroit, I think, pretty comfortably in this one.
Yeah.
I assume you are too.
Same thing. It's his first game back with Jordan Addison. Excited. Maybe that's better.
Maybe activate him on some quick game stuff. I don't know. I mean, to play the Lions, you got to attack the backers in coverage, which is what Kansas City did. But I just don't think this offense is, this quarterback are capable of that. Maybe.
Yeah, got to be able to hold the ball for at least 3 seconds to get that done. And every time that happens with this offensive line, disaster.
Jags Raiders. Speaking of disasters. I focus on the Raiders side of it. Brock Bowers, can you make this offense mildly competent? Is what I wrote down.
Remember week 1 against the Patriots? I was like, oh, I see how this will work. Like we do 2 cool 12 personnel stuff, and we get tight ends matched up in man coverage, and like this is nifty. And then just they immediately lost it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Raiders' offensive line is a disaster. The quarterback has been putting the ball in harm's way. They cannot run the ball the way one would expect. But I do think that actually having Bowers back will help a lot. I think, I made a lot of mistakes estimating or thinking that this Raiders offense would be fun and interesting. And obviously, Geno Smith has been absolutely disappointing. But I think then maybe my biggest mistake was underestimating how dependent on Bowers it was. You know what I mean? Like, because we looked at this group and we were like, fucky, who needs receivers? You can run multiple tight ends. It's like, okay, well, what happens if you take out that tight end?
Right.
It's really bad. So, and that matters in this game. The Jags are 26 in yards per attempt versus tight ends, 24th in DVOA. It is potentially a mismatch for them. I would just love to see the passing attack show some life, and I feel like Bowers returning could, against this defense, at least make it a little bit more palatable. I mean, do you have any Raiders thoughts generally? Because we haven't really talked since week 1. Since this.
Yeah, no, there's too many injuries in this game, right? Brock is still technically questionable. We don't know if he's coming back. The hope was week 9 bye. Jacoby Myers, Max Crosby's potentially not in this game. Other side of the ball, or other side of the sideline, I should say. Jaguars potentially no Devin Lloyd, who's playing so well, Brian Thomas Jr. So it's very tough to figure out what, like, matchup-wise we're looking for here. The quick throw stuff drives me insane for the Raiders because if you're last in the league in all this because you're playing the same coverage as you were playing 10 years ago. Offenses figured that out, and they figured it out when you had talent. Right now you have Wyatt Adams at linebacker. You are deficient in talent, and I know that Pete feels like he's protecting his young corners, but like if the juice is not worth the squeeze, Liam Cohen's going to have a field day with this defense if you don't come out with anything new post-bye, right? Now, it is at home for the Raiders. They are getting Bowers back. I think they're a lot better at running the football than they were. Chip has kind of figured out what he can and can't get away with this offensive line. So, like, I think this is an appropriately close line. It is 3.5. I do think we saw the absolute stone cold worst of the Raiders, and they will be better in the back half of the season. But I'm very scared of what Cohen might be capable of achieving, especially if, as reported, they just go full sell Travis Hunter on offense now.
I mean, on one hand, on paper, yes, right? Travis Hunter, screens. Lawrence has been good at quick game. And on the other hand, I have no faith in any sort of offensive consistency from Jacksonville. I know, like, we can say Liam Cohen knows how to attack them and they have these players and they should be, but like, Ben, they've been so unbelievably inconsistent in terms of their execution that it's hard for me to even look at this kind of mismatch and say no brainer, easy.
Yeah.
Even if on paper, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're real, and I would really wish, this is gonna sound so nerdy, I really, really wish Brenton Strange was back. He's not back yet because I have to say, this offense hasn't looked the same without him.
Right. That's not nerdy at all. We're talking about, it's a Brock and Brenton Strange game, man. This is a tight ends matchup. Availability. I firmly agree with you. I think the two biggest issues for their consistency has been procedural issues, right? They cannot get lined up on time and then drops. And my hope is that, okay, brother Brian Thomas Jr. plays or doesn't play in this game. I think like, you remember when we talked about Travis in the draft process and we were like, how does this small man catch everything near him, including when he is being like demolished by 200-pound safeties? I think you have to repurpose, if you're going full Hunter on offense, which I think you should. Actually, I would go full him on defense, but whatever. You got to pick a side.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah. You repurpose some of the middle of the field routes and some of the, the quick stuff between the linebackers to Hunter. And you say that you are a reliable ball catcher, even though you are 185 pounds. You're like Gumby, right? You're like a rubber band. Contact bounces off of you. And you replace Brian Thomas Jr. in the role in which he was successful last season, which was, hey, you see the goalpost there, 65 yards down the field, run at it as fast as you can. And to me, like that's going to be very salutary so long as over the bye week they knocked out some of the procedural problems. It is Jacksonville, so in terms of like teams who deserve our faith, they are 32nd out of 32, but the solutions to me seem clear.
I'm taking the Jags just because the Raiders have been so bad. But I'm not going to rule out Bowers' return being impactful and also just general consistent, the Jacksonville offense punching themselves in they're unmentionable. So
I'm taking the Raiders here, so that way I
yeah.
take at least a couple of underdogs in this pod and not all
Yeah.
favorites. I do think, again, we've seen the absolute floor for the Raiders this season. It can't get much worse than it's been.
Is it completely Gene over, or do you think there's a small part of you that thinks he could be better?
It's funny because, like, as I just wrote Drake May's MVP, I'm being accused by every Commanders fan under the sun that I never update my priors. As a big Geno guy, like, I think it's Geno over. Like, he's pretty clearly physically chalked, right? Like, just the ball does not come off his hand with the same degree of velocity. Movement skills were already going a little bit, and they've fallen again. Like, I just sometimes guys really physically bounce back, but it's a rare thing to see, and I'm not buying it. It just seems like he's reached the end of his physical rope.
Yeah, he's just gonna have. I think with him, it's gonna be a matter of, is he like more realistic about what his arm is capable of down the stretch?
It's not how he's coded.
Yeah, right.
The Sam Geno thing, by the way, like, because you and I were both very like, what are they doing? Like, this is a clear quarterback downgrade. That was one by like week 3. I was like, no, okay. Like, no.
I'm
like,
taking I know.
There's sometimes where it's like, oh, like, you know, opponents, defenses, schemes, systems. This was one where immediately I was like, okay, nope, they knew something.
I keep hearing from fans who are like, take the L. And I'm like, brother, I took the L like back in mid-September. What are you talking about? This the L was taken.
If I'm not taking an L, I will let you know. I'll let you know very loudly in a large column or in a podcast. Trust me, on this one, Sam is killing it, man. Yeah. He looks awesome.
The team that I root for, they made the right decision. The quarterback is killing. I'm just devastated.
Cheers to you.
Okay. We will get to the Seahawks, of course. They're the final game. Or the Sunday night game, actually. Not. I keep thinking they're Monday Night Football. They're Sunday night, which is really fun. Rams or Saints Rams is you.
Yeah, my key for this game is wish shuck luck, which mostly I just wanted to make the rhyme because it's funny to me. I don't understand the timing of this quarterback change in the slightest. You had the Bucs at home, which the Bucs are far from like the easiest defense, but they're still a passable on defense. And you start Rattler to hook him after what was like not a great, but also not egregiously bad first half, to then start Shuck on the road against the Rams. There's like, okay, like maybe the stadium is not like the most hostile environment. Rams are off a bye. The Rams defense is first in EPA per drive allowed, second in points per drive, second EPA per play, 8th in success rate, right? Now they've played the Cooper Rush Ravens and they played the Texans. Like, they're probably not as good as those numbers imply, but dude, like, this is a good pass rush and a complex defense that changes pictures on you. How is this the first Shuck start? I do not understand. You're going to do it with no Eric McCoy, with no Kendre Miller, who've been 2 important players to this offense. By the time this pod comes out, you might be down Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed. Like,
who do we think is more likely? I think Shaheed's more likely to go.
I do too, and that's the one I would be calling about. But if you got the message from ownership that was like, you have to start the rookie, and then you just 3 days later trade one of the 2 receivers, to me, like, it's very funny, it's very inept. I'm sorry for Saints fans, but to me that's very entertaining. So, like, in terms of actual functional keys, you want to make this very grindy, right? The Brandon Staley defense does not give up explosive plays. The Rams have to get explosive plays in their offense. They're really bad in short yardage. They're not good in the red zone, right? Dead last in red zone score percentage. 76% the Rams are. We've seen them, like, against the 49ers, for example. They had the 1st and 3 fumble, right, in the red zone. They had the 4th and 1 stop. Like, they're going to get points and yards on you, but you can get this team to execute poorly if they're playing all 3 downs and all 4 downs. That's how Staley is built. So long extended drives, slow scoring, protect your quarterback. That's got to be the approach. I just hate the way the Saints have gone about this quarterback change.
Puka Nacua back. Mm-hmm. Interesting to see if they still do any of the 13 personnel stuff. With
you kind of get the sense that Sean was like he had like a folder exactly like in the cabinet that was like, if Nacua ever gets hurt, and he opened it and there was like, and there was like light coming out.
Also, I forgot about Brandon Staley. You know he's gonna unload the clip. Just
a little revenge game here. Right.
As far as the quarterback switch goes, look, I'm not gonna begrudge a bad team from just like throwing stuff at the wall. We spent a 2nd round draft pick on this guy. Let's see what he's capable of. In a Kime show featuring Lenny Guest, Tyler Shuck, by the way. I think I only put that on YouTube. Delightful
Wonderful
man. I am a Shuck boy. That's what I call myself.
Is that a thing?
I'm trying to make it a thing.
You might be the only Shuck boy.
There's so many things you can do with Shuck, but it, like you said, I do not love the placement of it. Relax.
Shuck boy is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Dude.
You have to spell it with B-O-I. Shuck boy. Yeah, it's a tough spot for him. This is a trade showcase of the whole Saints. So, like, you like what you see?
Right.
You like Alante Taylor? You like Rashid Shaheed? You know, we had Damari. Kind of just doing a 40-year-old Demario Davis. That'd be an interesting one. But anyways, obviously I'm taking the Rams here. The Rams, by the way, sorry, not to keep going back to the trade deadline. Corner is probably most likely for this team. Unfortunately, there aren't that many. There's the thing the Rams have going for them, and
they made the McCreary trade, right? So they added a body at corner from the Titans.
Oh my God, I completely forgot they traded for McCreary. You're right.
When you were like corner, I was like, yes, his name is Roger. We just kept it moving. I was like, no, Roger, he's there.
Williams played really well before the bye, but I still wish they had more youth on or better players.
Yeah, McCreary is weird because like he's been mostly slot for the Titans last couple of years, and they have Quentin Lake there, who has been delightful in the nickel for the Rams.
Yeah,
but McCreary was at the outside at first in his career. No matter if you put him slot or outside, he's going to have issues with his length. Like he's got like 29-inch arms, so I wouldn't be surprised if they legit give him a shot outside at first over Emmanuel Forbes. I think that's going to be the plan.
Okay. Chiefs Bills.
The rematch.
They always play.
Last 4 regular season games, Bills have beaten the Chiefs. Last 3 postseason games, Chiefs have beaten the Bills.
So this is in Buffalo. Chiefs are still favored by 2. The Bills are coming off of a beatdown, but I think the vibes are still very dubious around the defense. I'm on the Bills side of this. I will go first. I wrote my focus is on the offense, where I think they have some advantages because I do worry about their defense against this offense. Maybe that's your side, so we'll get to that. I wrote, make the linebackers go backwards. That's, in my mind, how you beat this Chiefs defense. They are terrible against play action, but they're constantly facing offenses that aren't play actioning them.
Right. Very small sample.
So it goes back to like week 1 when Justin Herbert shredded him. Something the Bills are capable of. Rushing wise, this was an interesting split I found. The Chiefs defense is allowing the lowest yards per carry on runs outside the tackles in the NFL, but in between, numbers drop off precipitously. They're 25th in yards per carry, 25th in first down rate. That is something that Buffalo is extremely good at.
Yeah.
Just there's no reason for this to be explosive or there to be an onus on it to be terribly explosive in my mind. I think that they can grind them down, and I think they can play action off it. 100%. And I think those linebackers can be had.
Yeah, the 2 best run defending players on the Kansas City Chiefs are both corners. They are Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. That is so bad. And like I know people will say Nick Bolton and like Leo Chanel as well. I thought like Bolton is good. He shoots gaps, everything like that. He's not a good tackler. Okay, he's not big enough to be the sort of tackler you need him to be a linebacker. He doesn't have stopping power. The Chiefs defense to be getting away with what they're getting away with in the front 7 to me is like astonishing to this point. And you're absolutely right with the sample thing where they're worse in terms of yards per attempt against under center play action, EPA per dropback success rate, explosive pass. They're worse by a mile, 48% explosive pass rate. But the sample is extremely small because after the Chargers, they just haven't faced an offense willing to get under center and play action. Now the Bills, I swear to God, dude, if you walk out and act as if you're Joe Brady, another goddamn Joe Burrow 2021 LSU 5 in the concept spread nonsense, I'm going to blow my lid. The Falcons game, what are we doing? Get under center. In terms of the core of the running game, the Bills' 5 offensive line and then James Cook, they could be the Colts, dude. They really could. In terms of the talent that they have,
okay,
they could be so good, but they constantly run away from it.
They have to be amongst the best in the NFL. So I gave the Chiefs numbers on runs between the tackles. I thought you talked about how runs outside the tackles, the cornerbacks are helpful.
Yeah.
So they're like they're 25th in most metrics on runs between the tackles. What do you think off the top of your head? I'm going to pull it up right now. Buffalo is, if you had to guess, runs between the tackles.
Like
yeah.
Like legitimately, I'm going to guess like 30th. They
No. In like their metrics
their
of
offense.
how good. Yes, sorry, the offense. Like we're not talking about that side of the ball. How good do you think Buffalo is running between the tackles?
I'm trying to figure out like, okay, do the toss plays count when they kind of back up or whatever? But like easily top 5.
First in yards per carry, first in rushing success rate. Like I'm pulling up all the numbers right now.
It's unbelievable.
It's so obvious that they should be able to grind Kansas City down between the tackles.
I cannot be more I cannot be too embellishing here, too far over my skis. James Cook is to me 92% Jahmyr Gibbs. When you watch them play, in terms of the quality of individual that they are, and they just don't.
Why not throw to him? Why not throw to him?
I mean, because they got to get Ray Davis and Ty Johnson involved. You got to get your third down backs on the field.
All right. So that's my Bills' point is you have matchup advantages against this defense. Lean into them, run between the tackles, play action off of it. Don't have to get cute in this. I really think that they can move the ball in Kansas City.
Yeah, I strongly agree, right? My Chiefs' key, targeting the defense side of the ball, is you have to elicit Josh Allen mistakes because you are dead in the water if this becomes a shredder game, right? Where it's just run, play action, run, play action. Allen this year is scrambling more than he did last year, 9.9% relative to 7.6. Sack rate is doubled, 6% to 2.6%. Interceptable rate, 1.7% over 1%. They're just that last year the Bills were a really finely tuned, well-oiled machine, and this year there's just a little bit more cracks in the armor everywhere in terms of how Allen is behaving, some of the decisions he's making, which wide receivers get targets where. It just is not as smooth of an operation as it was. And so this is a game where you got to catch your picks. You got to get the guy down when you get your pressures. They have to become sacks. You need drive-ending plays here. You can't wait for the Marcus Mariota mistakes that you've been eating off of here in defense. The Bills should be able to just first, second down, only third and shorts, inch their way to scoring drives. So when Allen makes his mistakes, your big coverage rotations, you send your weak blitzes, all the stuff you do in the playoffs, you got to be able to actually haul those passes in and cash in on those. This game is very much going to come down to a couple of defensive plays made by one team and a couple of failed defensive plays by the other team. Didn't get the sack, didn't get the pick, so on and so forth.
So I want to pick Buffalo because I do I look at that matchup that we've been discussing and I feel good. The problem is I do not think this Bills defense can stop this iteration of the Chiefs offense. I don't see how it happens.
It is the Bills defense. When you look at the metrics, they are 4th in EPA per dropback. They're 8th in success rate against the pass. And you look at those numbers and you watch the film and you're like, no, absolutely not. They aren't. And it's because there are players who are so gettable in coverage that the smart teams are able to go after, right? Terrell Bernard right now is bottom 3 among all linebackers in terms of coverage snaps, right? When you get players working into the second level of the field and you get yak opportunities, it's Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop chasing them down. It's just not a fast enough safety to do it.
Rapp's out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. They just don't have good tackling there. Now, Maxwell Hairston came back and played 21 snaps against the Panthers. My thing for the Bills, my key for the Bills defensively in this game, or I should say, when the Chiefs hold the ball, you got to try to play some man coverage. You're not going to have a pass rush. You can't play zone. You have no Ed Oliver. You cannot play zone and rush with 4 and drop 7. You heard Troy Aikman with the Commanders, where every single time Mahomes had a nice catch, he was like, well, if you're going to play zone and rush 4 against Patrick, he's going to kill you. He was going
especially
nuts.
With Rice back, by the way. While I was watching the Chiefs offense and with Rice back, that was my number one takeaway. We talked about it NFL Live because of the Surtain injury. And I was like, this sucks. Because I really believe with Rice back in the lineup, you have to be able to play man against this offense. And the Broncos with Surtain, I thought, could do it. Can the Bills? I don't know about that, Chief.
No, I mean, the Bills are going to get walked down the field. Now it becomes a matter of what do you do in the red zone, right? I found this looking at Colts stuff. The Colts right now are the best offense in history in terms of getting into the red zone. They get into the red zone on 50% of their drives, which is the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. It's historic. It's the best number ever. Second best number in history is the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs. They're the only team better than them is the current Colts in terms of getting to the red zone. Now, the Chiefs are 5th in the league in touchdown percentage in the red zone. You go and you watch that film, whirligig liberal nonsense. It's still from Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice called RPOs liberal nonsense. Just completely insane. Andy Reid,
No, he called it conservative trickery.
Conservative trickery, not liberal nonsense. I went the wrong direction with it. A terrible look for me. But all foolishness.
RPOs? Sorry, wait, let me make sure I have that right.
It's all foolishness.
Yeah.
They cannot run the ball between the tackles. It's all the passing stuff. Yeah, conservative trickery. That's what it was.
What happened to lining up and letting the best man win?
RPOs are conservative trickery. Jerry Rice.
Do you know my story about him? I had him on a Super Bowl row once week, and I had that tweet up, and I pulled it up, and he went, nope. Nope. Not talking about it. No. It gets worse. So then I'm like, wait, what? That's not. I thought he would talk about it. I was like, well, I wanted to have a football conversation. And then later I checked my phone and he wasn't looking at the tweet For some reason, under the tweet was a picture of him doing that chicken commercial, and that's what he saw.
He said, no,
so
not
he
another
thought I
chicken
was going to
commercial.
ask him about
All
the
right.
fried chicken bucket hat. Come on, sorry.
Jerry, if you're listening, we would like to talk to you about RPOs being conservative
I
trickery.
RPOs.
Anyway, the point here being, the Chiefs are going to do cheese in the red zone to put the ball in. You have to be really disciplined. You have to make your tackles, right? For the Bills, it's going to be red zone opportunities on defense. For the Chiefs, it's going to be interception, fumble, and sack opportunities on defense. Who makes their plays is what this comes down to.
Are you going to take the Bills? I'm taking the Chiefs. I can't do it. I wanted to take the Bills so bad, but every time I look at this Chiefs offense against this Bills defense, I just can't get there.
I'm going to take the Bills because the Bills' running game is elite and the Chiefs' run defense is bad. And that should allow you to control game script in a way that the Chiefs can't because the Chiefs can't get under center and run the football. If I am wrong because the Bills elect to be like 65% pass, I'm going to, go to Rochester with a baseball bat, dude. It's been such a frustrating offense.
Okay. We're split. That's good. Seahawks Commanders, Sunday Night Football. You have the Seahawks, I'll do the Commanders side. Commanders coming off of a loss.
There we go.
Commanders defense is, well, it's not great. So I'm going to focus on the other side of the ball. I wrote Commanders. Can Jane Daniels buy time to punish the Seahawks downfield? So the Seahawks defense is like basically good at everything, right? They're amazing against the run. They get so much pressure. They're so fantastic against quick passes. They're good against deep passes. They're good against everything. They've improved a lot against play action, etc. One area, though, where they have struggled, and admittedly it's not the largest sample size, but it's been 50 snaps. When quarterbacks can buy time, so 4 more seconds, extended dropbacks, they're dead last in EPA per play. They're 31st in success rate. They're allowing they've allowed the most completions in the NFL and the most touchdowns. So Daniels, and I think some of that has to do with, by the way, the injuries that they've had in the secondary, and the secondary is getting healthier. So that's a little bit moot, I'm not going to lie. But it was like a huge issue against Tampa, for example, when half of the secondary was out. Daniels this year has been better outside of the pocket than inside of it. He's 7th in QBR outside versus 27th inside. And he's still been good under pressure. I think he has to be magical in this
100%.
game. And he's got to make like crazy magician-y plays outside of the pocket for them to have success.
Yeah, and it's got to be with his arm too. Seahawks against quarterback run, they're giving up 5.2 yards per carry, which is above average, but success rate, they're 3rd best, and against scramble specifically, they're 2nd best. So a lot of that scrambling stuff is just 3rd and long stuff where they're happy to give you 4 or 5 yards in structure, get you to 4th and 4, and then you're going to punt it away. Daniels right now, by the way, scrambling 14% of his dropbacks, 4th highest in the season in NFL history. It's behind 2 Vic seasons and a Justin Fields season, right? Like and they're not running as many screens, they're not running as much play action. They're trying to be more of a drop back team. And the response from Daniels has just been to get outside of the pocket. Some of that is pass protection. Certainly a lot of that is the wide receiver injuries. But this offense is losing a little bit of its identity and doesn't know what to lean on. A huge part of this game, one of the reasons why I love the spot for the Seahawks is because the Commanders are a hurry up, no huddle team, right? 65% of their snaps are hurry up, no huddle. You watch the Commanders, they'll put out a couple of funky personnel groupings in front of you, wait until they get, the Cardinals. They got the Cardinals with 3 defensive tackles on the field, and then just hurry up. We're not going to let you sub. The Seahawks, which some of this has been the defensive back injuries, the Seahawks since week 3 have been 92% nickel. Next closest team is 78%. What Mike McDonald has done in terms of getting a defense where I can put 11 guys on the field and stop anything is 1 of 1 in football. There is no defense that is even analogous, like not even Baltimore. There's not one that is close. And so you want to be a hurry up team, brother, I'm going to put the same 11 on the field and I'm still going to be able to take away everything you do. That's a huge Commanders offensive advantage they have against every other team. They're not going to have against Seattle.
And now imagine that Julian Love and Devin Witherspoon are back in that 11.
I'm so interested to see what,
Emin-Wari,
are they going to want to do sub packages now because they have their guys back? This is not the week for them. Maybe you wait 1 week. I don't know.
No, I think you play Witherspoon outside, and I think he likes Emin-Wari as the Kyle Hamilton slot defensive line.
Yeah, and then if you get to a 3rd and long and they're not in hurry up, you take Drake off the field. You can play a Emin-Wari dime linebacker, and you can get Tariq back on the field. They can do some cool stuff, dude.
We don't. I mean, the other side of the ball is just
Commanders' worst
now
pass.
I'm not allowed to use that one analogy anymore. So I need another one. Okay, listeners, YouTube listeners who leave such delightful and only pleasant comments. Please, you guys gave me a bunch of great analogies for San Francisco 49ers defense without Fred Warner. Please give me a new analogy for hydrogen bomb, coughing baby, like just a dominant, like, I don't know, Lenny versus a thinly tied box of treats would be one. That's a terrible one, but I just need like an analogy for like a dominance. That's what I've been missing.
Yeah.
All right.
It's gonna be really sad to watch the Seahawks end Bobby Wagner's career on Sunday night, dude. But it's gonna happen. He's done.
That one play with Rashee Rice this last week, the crosser, where they got him on Wagner. It was I literally turned away from my computer.
The best thing is teams have been doing that to Wagner for weeks, and the quarterback just hasn't targeted it, and then the Chiefs just went and dialed it exactly for that. And it's like, yep, 54 is a mark. That's just the nature of 2025 right now. He is.
Sainer still, man, it's so bad.
I have no idea what the solution is in the secondary for them, because like I was like, okay, trade Lattimore.
They moved him outside.
Like, Benogany, like their safeties are also really rough because they've had injuries there, and it's like it's hard to pick too much on the corners. I don't know.
Johnny Newton played well.
My guy.
Okay, we're both on Seattle.
Yeah.
Cardinals to Cowboys. So this is one I actually think a very close game, very hard to pick. Yeah, which the Cowboys are favored by 2.5, but it's in Arizona. So, you can go first. Oh, you just went on the Commanders. I'll go first. So I'm at Dallas. I'm going to talk about the Dallas defense in this one. Pretty simple. Can you pressure Kyler Murray? And I bring this up for a couple reasons. One, the Dallas pass rush isn't actually that bad. It's actually like the least bad thing about their very bad defense, to be honest. Like, they're actually getting some pressure. And then the other reason I bring that up is Kyler Murray has just been atrocious under pressure this season. He has a QBR of 11. Why is that? Well, I'd be happy to tell you. When he is under pressure, when Kyler Murray is under pressure, he is 32nd in sack rate. He is 32nd in interception rate, meaning the most. And he is 33rd in drop rate, which is not a Kyler Murray stat. It's a receiver stat. Basically, when he is under pressure, the entire offense falls apart. Bad things happen that compound each other. Some of them Kyler's fault, some of them not his fault. So for Dallas, it really comes down to, can your pass rush get something going against this team?
Yeah. My key for this game is, can you run yourself away from the Cowboys pass rush, right? Like it's just like, all right, on 1st and 10 and on 2nd and 10 for the Cardinals, since Trey Benson and James Conner have gone down, the Cardinals are 28th as a team, 31st as a team in terms of success rate running the football, right? Another key injury that underappreciated was that of Tip Ryman, the second-year tight end out of Illinois, who was, they were a base 12 personnel team. He was playing 50-60% of the snaps and was a key blocker for them, because Trey McBride, who is passable and effortful as a blocker, is just not going to be like a scale tipper in the way that Ryman was. This, like, you lost Clayton Adams. He went to Dallas, Clayton Adams revenge game. And the Dallas running game has been one of the coolest designed things. Yeah, it's just been so fun to watch. The Cardinals have had an exact equal but opposite fall off in their running game. This used to be like under center, 13 personnel, pin pull. Like the way they got corners in the fit was second to none. And now like it's just been toothless, unimaginative. The interior offensive line's giving them problems. You had the bye week. You're not getting Trey Benson back. He's not back till next week. But you've got something here in Bam Knight. You've had some time to calibrate to the injuries. And now you got a Dallas run defense that if you can't run on this group, you can't run. And even in the worlds in which, like, okay, how good is Kyler Murray? He's a second contract. He's a bust, whatever. A good offense with Kyler Murray was always going to be a good running offense. You have to be, right? Because you have to be able to maximize the value of his legs. And they don't really do it in the gun, but still like they do it with the boot action stuff. If the Cardinals can't run here, it's chalked. It's over. It's finished. And so you have to be able to commit to new ideas in the running game, find a way to be able to move it, not just in the red zone. They've been good there, still running the football, but between the 20s. If it's not against this defense, it's against no one.
I think that the Cowboys offense should be able to move the ball in Dallas or Arizona, on the other side of the ball. I haven't talked about the Cardinals defense really at all this year. There's a reason for that. There's not much to talk about. Like, they've been sort of below average. They haven't taken the leap that I think we kind of hoped they would after the last couple of years. And it's funny, Ben, because like the players that they've added have all been pretty good, right? Like the young players, Sweat's been fine. but then there's been regression amongst, I think, other players on the roster, and so it's kind of netting out to just like the 20th best defense in football right now.
I appreciate what they are trying in terms of the odd front structure, and they steal some college ideas and the 3 safety stuff. It's just there's a reason why no one does this in the NFL. It's because it's really hard to be this way. The Cardinals are just so predictable in terms of, like I talked about that. No, excuse me, this was Commanders against the 49ers, but they get into those base fronts, right? And you can keep that on the field by going hurry up, no huddle. You can keep them in that base defense at 3-4 spacing. They play more quarters than anybody else on late downs in all of football. Their coverage rotations and stuff, like it looks cool on the chalkboard, but you're getting off cover from the corners and the outside. So if you have a guy you like on a speed out or a guy you like on a deep comeback, you have it. They might be getting Garrett Williams back, which was a big deal. This defense was at his best when he was in the nickel. BJ Ojolari also somehow is practicing, which he's 9 months off of an ACL off of an Achilles. And so I don't know if he's going to be available or not for this game. Walter Nolan has been practicing, so they might be getting bodies that will make the defense seem a little bit different. But to me, they feel like a very predictable defense, which again, Clayton Adams, coming back, he knows a lot about how to go against this group. They have good players, but they're toothless schematically. Even though they're doing football nerdy stuff, it's just not the sort of thing that's tenable at the NFL level.
It's also Dallas's offense in Dallas, where they're remarkably better. It's hard for me not to think that there's going to be a bounce back game for that unit after going on the road against Denver last week. So I'm taking Dallas in this, and I realize that means I've gone mostly favorites outside of Denver. But I'm sorry, they're favorites for a reason.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I'm inclined to take Dallas. I think that last week against the Broncos, it was the Cowboys aren't that good. Now this Cowboys offense will be able to shred 29 of 32 defenses in football. It's just they ran into one of the 3. I will say that the Cardinals have lost 5 in a row, and obviously they had a quarterback. Murray was unavailable those 2 weeks.
A little back against the wall.
Now they're out of the bye. I want to be I'll put it this way: it's either a very impassioned performance, win on the road against Dallas, going into the upcoming Seattle game. Let's rally together as brothers, or it's okay. When's the Jonathan Gannon moment going to come for ownership here? Because you lost 6 in a row and your season's chalked. So I lean Cowboys, but Cardinals win would not surprise me.
Really like to see Arizona figure something out in the run game against this unit, to your point. If you can't do it against this group, you're really losing faith in that. All right, that's it. We did every game. Ben, where can folks check out your work?
ESPN.com, Ben Solak. We got trade deadline primers coming up. We got the column coming out every single Tuesday. We got bets for this upcoming week coming out on Thursday. We're back at it, baby. We're working. It's great.
All right, Ben will be back on sooner rather than later. We'll be back on Tuesday to recap the aforementioned Cowboys game. You can check out the show on Instagram at Mina Kimes Show. We launched an Instagram where I am doing weekly power rankings that are exclusive to, they're just top 5s. There's going to be a shakeup in the top 5 this week. Last week's top 5 was Kansas City, Indianapolis, Detroit, Seattle, and the Rams. Can you guess which team might crack the top 5? You don't have to guess who's leaving the top 5.
Jets, probably, right? A lot of momentum.
Jets.
Coming off the win. There it is.
You got it. How do you know? If you want to know who made the top 5, you got to go follow Instagram, Mina Kimes Show. Thank you, as always, to my friends at Omaha Productions who make this show. Kirsten Sebecki, Owen Saylor, Jack Foster, Tucker Tashton. You can also listen to my television podcast, Viewer Discretion with David Dennis Jr., where we have been talking about Love is Blind. Open to new suggestions, by the way, for our next TV show. So hop in the comments and let us know. And also hop in the comments and give me an analogy. Please, I'm desperate.
Wow!